Well, this is my 2011 RZR 800 Polaris, and got a slight problem. The rack and pinion is completely shot. It has a bunch of play in the steering, and didn't want to turn right. We rode last weekend. You can hear it, just stuff grinding down there. But if you look down here, the seal has walked its way out of the rack, right where your shaft goes in. There's actually an adjustment screw on the back of that rack and pinion. You can crank in on it if you got too much play in your steering, and it'll kind of tighten it up. But I have it turned all the way in, and it's completely trash. So we got a new one. This is the screw I'm talking about, except this one looks like it takes a big giant size Torx bit, and the one that's on the old one, it has a 14mm socket head on it, so you can crank it in. But this one here goes with the tie rod ends already on it. It's a manual steer, it's not electronic. It comes with all the bolts. Look like this is the outer tie rod ends. So anyway, we'll get this thing in the air and try and get that fixed, because I can't steer. Alright, so here's the little tie rod end. It's just a 15mm and a 17mm nut. Pull it right out of there. That's that side. And here is your steering. Man, look at the play in that. That is completely shot. That is your steering knuckle. And I believe that's a 17. We'll pop that off. That should come right off of there. That's the steering knuckle bolt. I don't think we'll have to hold it on the other side. Steering wheel's gonna turn. Yeah, we're gonna need a wrench on the other side. Hopefully it's a 17. Nope. It's like a 15. That thing should have a slot in it where the bolt will go in. So it walked the seal clean up out of the hole. That should just have to pry up on that to get that joint up out of there. Hopefully the whole gear don't come out of there. We're probably going to have to open that up a little bit. It's just pretty rusty in there. So you'll have to hammer something in there and split that open. So should slide out that shaft. I hope I don't have to pull the whole steering column just to get that off of there. Shouldn't have to. Should be enough play. Might spray some PV blaster in there. Really don't want to have to pull that steering column. I think it should. That thing is so wore out. Maybe I was in there too far. I think it's rusted in there. Yeah, it's pretty rusted in there. I think I'm gonna have to pull the steering column. So to give me enough play. Not too bad. Look like it's just these Allen bolts here. It's got the tilt shock. Here's that shaft that runs all the way down. So I'm probably gonna have to drop the steering column, and that'll give me a little play down here to snatch it off of there. It's just not wanting to move. I don't think it's much play in that. So let me get these bolts loose and get the steering column loose, and we'll try and just pull the whole shaft out. Well, I dropped the steering column, and it gave me some wiggle room, and the whole shaft came out of the rack and pinion with the little worm gear on it. So it was just really, really trashed. So now I'm gonna have to try and get, oh, there it is. Look at that thing. It's full of mud. So that's the whole worm gear that operates the rack. It's like a big pinion gear down in there. You can see it's just full of mud and water. So now it's just getting the rack and pinion out. Like I say, I dropped the steering column. That gave me enough room to slide it out. So I'm thinking it's just take the other tie rod loose on the other side. There's 3 bolts that bolts into the bracket. And there's 2 bolts right here. They're on a bracket hooked to the rack. So we pull that loose. You can see the bracket right here on the new one. And then your 3 bolts right there. And should be able to slide it in there and put the tie rod ends and adjust the inner, you know, your outer tie rod ends where your wheels won't be caught in or out. Get them pretty straight. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these 3 bolts, and the 2 bolts on the outside. We'll get that whole rack out of there. So in order for me to get to this bottom bolt back here, on the back of the rack. I had to put a swivel half-inch socket on a ratchet and hold it, and then start cranking the bolt loose. So that bolt there goes through that bracket, which goes through the frame. Well, there's a tab welded on the frame that bolt goes through. If you get those two out at the bottom, then you can pull this whole bracket out, like I was saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this long bolt out and go to the other side and get that other bolt out. And hopefully we'll be able to slide this thing up out of there. So you're gonna have to get your ratchet and these two bolts here, this one, and there's another one right here, will come right out. But that other one that I got the ratchet on, you got to put a wrench on the nut that's on the other side. I don't know why they did that, but you're gonna have to go up in there, sneak around, put a wrench on that nut. And if you got one of these battery powered ratchets, you're gonna have to go through the frame here, try and hold that nut like that with the wrench. And my battery is getting low on my ratchet, but I got the wrench on it. That's the last bolt. I don't know if I can. It's right against the frame for the differential. Should be loose. Still holding on. This thing's kind of complicated. It's still holding on. I don't know how I'm gonna get that nut back up in there. I'm gonna put some tape or something on a wrench. And there you have it. You can see all the little ball bearings in there rolling around. There's water in there where the seal came out. So, get the new one ready, get it back in there, and I'm gonna have to this nut that goes just fell out. You can see where they bolt right there. There's two at the top and three at the bottom. So I'm gonna have to probably tape the nut to this wrench and get it in there on an angle, tighten it back up. But yeah, you don't want to pull those two top bolts because that's what holds your winch to the frame. If you got a winch up on there, this is the factory Polaris winch. So let me see, can I get the thing back in there and I'll show you the outcome. So the new rack and pinion didn't come with the tie rod ends on. So I'm basically going to try and measure. You can see, taking my tape measure, and I kind of marked a little yellow dot with a grease pen right where the threads end at. So I'm going to try and put the tie rod end on and stop that nut right there. But it seems like the new ones are a little thicker. So I'm probably going to just take these off and use these, and I can get the right measurement on your toe in and toe out. It's just a little thicker than the one on here. So I might just bust that loose put those on, because it looks like these are the same. I don't know why they would put a different I don't know like that. I've seen cars like that. You buy a new tie rod in and this the lock nut that locks against the tie rod in will be a little thicker. But yeah, I'm gonna try that. Everything else is the same inner tie rod in. So maybe I can get that measurement right and it'll run straight. So I suggest if you're gonna do this side, you better invest in some small needle nose vice grips, because you gotta hold that nut on there while you tighten. That one up, it's way up under there. You barely see it, but you gotta hold that nut. You can see I already dropped one down in there. Get it started. This one here, it is made to the frame. The nut is just screw the screw in there, and then you tighten the other bolts up, and the rack's in. You got the tie rod ends on, so hopefully they're adjusted right. So, well, the new rack and pinion is finally in after fighting those bolts in the tight spots, and turns fairly easy. I did notice I was missing the little hubcap, little grease cap. I'll get that. About time for some front brake pads anyway. But it does turn pretty good. You don't know until you get it on the ground, but it's nice and tight. So hopefully this helped you out on putting on the new rack and pinion. I grabbed this thing off of eBay. It was a pretty good deal on it. I can't remember what I paid for it, but you can look on eBay, Amazon. They both sell the rack. I think it was $70-something for the rack and pinion, but steers pretty good. Hopefully it does on the ground. That's gonna be it. So I'm gonna slap the tires on it, and see y'all next time.